So this one is for all you dummies who still think the AR-15 can decapitate people. So, it's a good question though. Where does this myth come from? Where does it come from that the AR-15 is this, crazy powerful rifle, with all this big destructive capacity? So, this was an analysis from Major Anthony F. Millivac, U.S. Marine Corps, published in the Proceedings of the U.S. Naval Institute, August 2002. And he asked that same question because it's all about the cartridge. You have the two different cartridges that it can fire, the 5.56 NATO and the 223 Remington. The cartridges are the same size. The bullets, I think, on the 5.56 are smaller, but they have more powder behind them and stuff like that. So let's look at this and see if we can sort out where this came from and what the truth is. So he says all these weapons, the M4, the M16, all of the military versions of the AR-15. The AR-15 was never a military weapon. He's talking about the M4, M16, all those. All these weapons suffer from a common shortcoming: the impotent 5.56 millimeter NATO cartridge. Yes, he said impotent. So we'll look at why. The 5.56 millimeter round was spawned by the proposition that volume fire is as effective as aimed fire. And this is kind of what you see in the movies. They just kind of spray bullets everywhere and everyone dies. Therefore, warriors with lighter weight cartridges, in terms of physical weight as opposed to impact, could carry more bullets in their same basic load, put out a higher volume of fire, kill more enemy soldiers, and require fewer ammunition replenishments. Now, I've said this before, it's all about saving money. It doesn't cost as much. It's a smaller cartridge than like the 7.62, which is kind of standard for, and it's your basic military rifle. It's also your basic hunting rifle. Like your deer rifle might use a 7.62. You might have heard of deer hunters using a 308 or a 30-06. You put those cartridges next to each other, they're really similar. They're not necessarily interchangeable, but they're really similar. So that's what we're comparing it to. The 5.56 or the 223, they're just these tiny nothings compared to it. However, the physical weight advantage of the round is misleading. The 5.56 is approximately half the weight of the 7.62. A soldier can carry approximately twice as many 5.56 as 7.62 rounds. But, he says, that would be an advantage only if the 5.56 had the same one-round knockdown power as its predecessor, and the evidence demonstrates otherwise. So this is the movie thing again, where one bullet always kills, You just hit a guy one time, and he's down. And just all the guns do that no matter, unless it's the good guy, in which case he gets a, 30-second scene to act out his death and win an Oscar. But, The 5.56 was produced from the Remington 223 that is advertised for use in groundhog and woodchuck hunting. What have I been saying, people? This is a varmint gun. It's a small game gun. It's not made for killing people. It's not made for killing deer. Joe Biden goes on and says, "Ooh, deer in Kevlar vest! Deer in Kevlar vest! Ha ha ha, I'm so funny." No, you're not. No, you're not. You're stupid. Because even without a Kevlar vest, a 5.56 doesn't have enough knockdown power to take down a deer. Which is why so many states say you can't use it for deer hunting. They'll lie to you. These politicians and pundits and people like that. They'll lie to you and say, "Oh, well, that's because it's so crazy powerful, it just explodes the deer." No! Absolutely not. It's because it doesn't. And when you hunt, you want to take it down humanely. so that the deer doesn't suffer. You want one round knockdown. The deer is down, the deer is out, the deer is not suffered, and venison for everyone. That's the idea. So, alright, so he mentions Project Agile looked at 1,000 223 caliber AR-15 rifles given to South Vietnamese soldiers for field testing. The cartridges were credited with scoring instantaneous one-shot kills. On 9 June, after ambushing an estimated Viet Cong company, a Ranger platoon reported 5 VC killed by the AR-15s, with the following one-round lethal hits. A back wound which caused the thoracic cavity to explode. A stomach wound which caused the abdominal cavity to explode. A buttock wound, it shot him in the buttocks, which destroyed all tissue of both buttocks. A chest wound from right to left, which destroyed the thoracic cavity. And a heel wound, which was caused by a projectile entering the bottom of the right foot, causing the leg to split from the foot to the hip. Split from the foot to the hip. Anyone who knows anatomy, tell me how that's possible. Because I can't even visualize it. I mean, how do you split it past the knee? You know, and then you've got the femur to go through. All deaths were instantaneous except for the buttock wound. The VC soldier with that wound lived about 5 minutes. So Forrest Gump fared out a lot better, being shot in the buttocks. Well, that is an incredible claim, which of course requires incredible evidence to back it up. So, the Army Wound Ballistics Laboratory was unable to confirm the Vietnam test reports. They fired 223 rounds into ballistic gelatin. They tried a second time using bullets with a 1/4 inch cut off their tips and 332 diameter holes drilled a 1/4 inch deep. They basically made them into hollow points so that they would deform, mushroom out, and do maximum damage instead of overpenetrating. The modified bullets also failed to duplicate the spectacular effects reported by Project Agile. Nonetheless, those unbelievable and unconfirmed results served as proof that the 223 had one-round knockdown power. So, for more than 36 years, field reports from soldiers and Marines have provided ample evidence that challenges the basis for choosing the 5.56. Vietnam, 1965. First U.S. unit to be engaged with the North Vietnamese. Even after being hit several times in the chest with 5.56, many continued firing and moving for several more steps before dropping dead. So that's the opposite of what you want from stopping power. You want to shoot the guy and he stops. Not shoot the guy and he keeps coming and you have to shoot again and again and again. Another infantry officer said, in one firefight, I saw my RTO place 3 rounds in the chest of a charging NVA regular at 50 yards. He kept firing his AK-47 and never slowed down. At 30 yards, I hit him with a blast of double-aught buck. It picked him up off his feet, and he didn't get up again. Yep, that's the Joe Biden-approved 12-gauge there. Gulf War, 1991. Several Marines commented that they had to shoot Iraqi soldiers 2 to 3 times or more with the 5.56 green tip ammo before they stopped firing back at them. An Iraqi officer still on fire. He was literally on fire, faced the firing line of Marines and charged forward firing his weapon from the hip. I mean, movie style. This was badass. Imagine this in a movie. He's on fire and he's got his AK down there and he's just pop, 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 from the hip. I don't know if it was an AK. It didn't say what kind of weapon it was, but I'm guessing it wasn't an AR-15 because he was sensible. He didn't hit anyone, but 2 Marines each nailed him with a 3-round burst from their M16A2s. One burst hit him immediately above his heart, the other in his belly button. He kept right on charging and firing until his magazine was empty. The surgeons told me he certainly died of burns, but not necessary from the 6 bullet wounds from the 5.56. Somalia, 1993. The 5.56 millimeter green tip made a small, clean hole and passed right through the enemy. Unless it happened to hit the heart or spine, it was not enough to stop a man in his tracks. Howe felt, this is Army Sergeant First Class Paul Howe, Delta Force soldier. Howe felt like he had to hit a guy 5 or 6 times just to get his attention. That's not good when you're in combat. It's not good. Afghanistan, 2002. Soldier who preferred to remain anonymous. The current 62 grain 5.56 is proving itself once again to be woefully inadequate as a man-stopper. Engagements at all ranges are requiring multiple solid hits to permanently bring down enemy soldiers. Penetration is also sadly deficient. Even light barriers are not perforated by this rifle and cartridge combination. Light barriers. You remember when... Oh God, who was it? The guy who did the stupid lunge and was talking about AR-15s going through it's Beto O'Rourke. Yeah. And he said that stupid thing about it firing through bulletproof helmets, and the guy laughed at him like, "You're laughing at dead children." No, Beto, he's laughing at you because you're stupid. Because you're dumb. Because you don't know what you're talking about. It's just crazy. And he says, these reports are consistent with my experience during 3 tours of duty in Vietnam from 64 to 69. It was apparent that the 5.56 was nothing more than the commercial Remington 223 used for hunting small game. It's a small game rifle. It's a varmint gun. It's not all that good for using against people. I mean, you don't want to be shot with one still. You know, a bullet is a bullet, as they say. But, you know, it's all about how are you going to stop someone who's actively attacking you. You want to be able to aim straight for the middle of the torso, fire 1 round, and have him stop. And it's not going to always work. Even with a larger round, it's not going to always work, so you need to be ready for multiple shots. But the faster you stop him, the safer you and everyone else is. And also, there's that over-penetration issue. They talked about that. When it over-penetrates, it's not doing the damage to the target, to the attacker, but it's going through, and the bullet's going to hit something. It's going to hit a person, it's going to hit property, it's going to hit something else. And that's just not good. So you want a proper round, you know, with proper hollow points, a proper deforming round that does maximum damage to the target to stop him as quickly as possible. So, by institutionalizing the proposition that volume fire is as effective as aimed fire, troops are encouraged to engage single targets with automatic fire and thus use even more ammunition. And remember, this ammo only weighs half as much as the 7.62. And that's the whole cartridge. That's the bullet, that's the powder, that's the casing, all that together is half the weight. But if you got to carry more than twice the number of bullets, to take people down. If you're firing more than 2 bullets for every one you would have fired with the 7.62, it's not worth it. So, a Marine in the Vietnam War in late 1966, I was on an OP near Chulai with a squad of Marines. At the time, we transitioned to the M16 bleeping toy, suggesting to the lieutenant that he intercept the individual. He mistook that as a commence fire command. The lads opened up, and most of them had their new toys on full auto, and of course in the movies that would just be abject destruction. I could see splashes and puffs all around said individual, who was now sprinting rapidly away. All those shots with the 5.56, and he's still sprinting rapidly away. I ordered ceasefire, grabbed an M14. M14s are chambered in 7.62. Sat and drilled this guy with one shot at about 300 meters plus. Then I had the Marines police up the brass. 168 rounds fired, one slight nick on the target from the 5.56. That's not good. That's not a good way of doing things. Do it like with the M14. Or like that guy with a shotgun. One shot, stop him. That's it. You don't want shots being fired everywhere and doing everything except stopping the attacker, of course. Alright, so he concludes, early judgments that the 223 and 5.56 had 1 round lethality against enemy soldiers have proved to be without merit. Soldiers and Marines from Vietnam to Afghanistan have witnessed enemy soldiers advancing and firing their weapons after being hit by several rounds of 5.56. Further, it has been demonstrated rapidly that the extra ammo troops are able to carry as a result of the 5.56 lighter weight does not add up to an increase in combat effectiveness. To the contrary, the evidence shows a loss of combat effectiveness overall, because warriors need even more rounds than the 2-for-1 replacement affected by the change to the lighter round. There's just no truth to this, about the AR-15 explodes and decapitates children and stuff like that. It's impossible! It's physically impossible! So please stop falling for it. There is no truth to it whatsoever. The AR-15 is a varmint gun. It's for small game. And of course it's going to be a fun sporting gun and things like that. But if you want stopping power, if you want a guarantee, there's never a guarantee, but if you want pretty close to a guarantee that you can bring a guy down in one shot, you're going to need something a lot heftier than the 223. So, every time you see that, every time you see NPR talking about it decapitating and exploding and all of these other things, just realize this is what you're dealing with. This is the level of ignorance. This is the level of misinformation that's out there. And it really seems like no one is doing anything to police it. So, just understand it when you see it, correct them, point them to this video or this article or anything else you have to get the truth out there. Thank you so very much for watching. Comments for the comment guide, shares for the share throne. Please hit like, subscribe, and the bell. If you're looking for alternatives to YouTube, I also cross-post all these videos over to Odyssey and Rumble, and those links are below as well. You can also go to donate.bogosity.tv. Keep me doing what I do. Donate directly, and you don't have to worry about what kind of cut YouTube takes or anything like that. You can just donate to me directly, become a supporter at PayPal and Subscribestar, get these videos early and ad-free, and other benefits like AMAs, shoutouts, things like that. So thanks so very much. Until next time, stay strong and be free.